Live.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Sharona.
Hi,
Glad
Claudette.
to So, thank you for being here. This is another episode of Conversations That Matter. I'm Claudette Chenevert, known as the Stepmom Coach, and I'm here with my co-host, Sharona. Hi, Sharona.
Hi, Claudette. Hi, everybody. Yes, I'm Sharona. I am the midlife women dancing with change specialist, and I am really looking forward to our conversation today. Comparing or not comparing? That is the question.
And I think it's a good question because a lot of times we hear people say we shouldn't be comparing or it's not a good thing. And I have another perspective about this, and it'll be fun to have a conversation with you, see what your thoughts are.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be comparing notes, right?
Comparing,
We're
right?
comparing notes, exactly. So, you know, a lot of times when we think about comparing, the first thing that comes to mind for some people is that, oh, it's a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
When we compare, we're thinking of the negatives, like good or bad, better, worse. But I would like to approach it from a different perspective, and one that I think we need to talk about is that it's impossible to not compare, right? I don't
Right.
know what you think about this.
I think it's part of our being human. Being a human animal, we have a tendency of comparing. We're doing it all the time. We're judging, comparing, uh, what you have, what I don't have, what I have, you don't have, what you look like, I don't look like. It's just part of who we are. So yeah, I think it's a natural thing that we do. And again, I think we go into this either or. You know, you got to see if comparing yourself to others is supporting you or being detrimental to your well-being.
Mm, yeah.
So yes, I agree that and a lot of times when I work with clients, especially midlife women, I find that there's a certain point they start comparing how their life has been so far, and it doesn't seem like it's in alignment to what they imagine it would be.
Yeah.
And so they start looking on the outside of themselves and start comparing what other people around their age or younger or older may have or not in their life. And then they start doing this thing where they're comparing how their midlife is looking compared to everybody else's midlife.
And you bring a good point because I think you're talking about midlife women, and that is a great example. And I see that a lot in for stepmoms and women. Let's just talk women. I think women have a tendency. Now, might be just my opinion, but I've observed over the years that women have a tendency to compare themselves a lot more than men would do. Maybe it's semantics. Maybe if we men see it as competition, when women see it as comparing, because there is a difference. But I think that when women compare themselves, and they do that a lot in different areas,
Mm-hmm.
and the worst ones are in the way we look, our appearance. Whether we look good in this dress or whether we gain weight, and then in parenting is another area where a lot of women compare themselves to each other or to one another.
Mm-hmm.
Like, am I a good parent? Am I a better parent than the others? And that's where I think I want to make an emphasis. It's in that when we compare and tell ourselves, am I better than, that is when comparison becomes negative. Because as you said, it's either or, and it shouldn't be. It's a question of, if you look at comparison as a tool to help you grow and to learn from your experiences rather than saying, am I better than, or am I worse than, or do I look nicer, better? Those are the negative aspects of comparison. But when you look at comparison and say, hey, you know what, this person is raising their children this way. Is that how I want to do it? So you look at this in the way of, does this align with who I am as a person? Does this align with my values? Does this align with the kind of life I want? And then you can work around this. So what are your thoughts on this,
You know
Sean?
what, I agree with that. Um, yeah, because I think a lot of times we go into this negative or unhealthy comparison of better than or worse than. And if you think about it, let's do a metaphor here: oranges and apples. Let's compare orange and apples. Both are
Mm-hmm.
fruit. Both are fruit. But you know what? They offer different things,
Yes.
different flavors, different smells, different style. And one of the, I wanted to go back a little bit to, I think we do put a lot of pressures on ourselves, especially in the society where every commercial is about what you're supposed to look like, what you're supposed to feel like, what you're supposed to do. And again, here we are at the beginning of the new year. And right, and everybody gets into this mindset of losing weight,
Yeah.
right? Everybody, and and this, and bazillion of plans are out there of losing weight. And I have to be honest here and disclose a little bit. I was one of those ones that never looked body wise like everybody else, like all the models and everything, who are all probably a size 0, which is, crazy. But that's not healthy. But here's the thing is, so my body type is that I'm very round in the middle. I have a pooch. And I've always had a pooch, even when I was little. It's just how my body's built. And yet, and I was a dancer, I'm very athletic, and no matter how many sit-ups I do, cannot get a flat tummy. I can't. So I had to come to the point where I need to let go of that image of what a healthy body is. My body is very healthy. As a midlife woman, I can still, do splits and all that. But again, it's about comparing apples to oranges and saying, okay, what works for me? Yes, it would be nice to have a 6-pack ab, but I don't want to work that hard. Thank you very much.
And I think that's a good point, right? There's a lot of things we want, but do we want to work towards getting it? And I think if you're going to compare the work and the time and energy it took to get there, and then ask yourself, do I really want to invest all that time and energy in doing it, right?
Right.
I mean, we tend to compare little things that, we cherry pick what we want to compare. But then if you look at the whole picture and then look at the entire person or the entire situation and then say to yourself, is that what I really want? Oftentimes it's not, because if it was, you would have at least attempted to move towards it.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. It's like when we hear about people who have um, a really great job and they're making lots of money, and I go, I want that job. Okay, for instance, in the health when I was working at the local community college, a lot of midlife people and a lot of midlife women who realized they needed a career change, their job disappeared. They were working someplace for almost 20 years, close to 30, and they still needed to work. So they decided that so what was out there was the medical profession at the time needed more nurses and more people doing dentistry and all that. And so people kept pushing these, these career changers into that funnel. Except to be a nurse, you got to deal with, I give a lot of nurses credit, but the work and the study and that, and what you have to deal with, you need to really understand that work, understand that process. If that, just because you can make a lot of money doesn't mean it's going to be a good fit. So one of the ways to figure out if comparing is good or not is actually, if there's something you want, go find someone doing it and shadow them for a little bit, just to see how they do it and say, does this work for me? Is this in alignment with me? Because sometimes when you shadow someone and see what they're actually doing, it's not all glamorous. It's not all pretty.
Exactly. So it comes back to the saying, the grass isn't always greener on the other side of the fence.
No.
It's not. And again, when you look at certain things, when you only look at a small portion of what that person is doing or the kind of lifestyle they have or their, who they are, if you're only looking at small pieces, it's not gonna be the entire picture. You have to look at the entire picture in order to be able to say, hey, yeah, this works or this isn't. And you talked about commercials. I think commercials are really geared to make us feel like we don't have enough and that we're lacking in something all the time. I've rarely seen commercials where they made you feel like, wow, you know what? I'm really feeling good with where I am and what I have. I've yet to see a commercial that doesn't say to you, you're missing out on something. And so it's another form of comparison, making you feel like if you had this is what you would have. So it's another form of comparison, making you feel like you're missing out on stuff.
Yeah, and it's interesting that that sometimes it just feels that it feels as if no matter what I do or who I am, I'm not gonna make it. It's like if I, now it's what is it now? Oh, bright white teeth. When did that all of a sudden be? I just want to make sure I don't have cavities. But everything is about, oh, get your teeth the whitest they ever. Why? Why? I don't understand. So they keep pushing things and keep telling you this is what you need to be perfect. And I think that's the other thing is a lot of times when we go into comparison, we have this little place of perfection. If I just do that, I'll be perfect. If I do this, my life will be perfect. If I do that, my parenting will be perfect or my relationship. There is no such thing as perfect. It's a hallucination. And so a lot of times we sometimes dovetail or we link perfect with comparing. And that's why and I think where it really comes from is being who you are in this moment. Just saying, this is who I am in this moment. Let me take care of this in this moment and just be what is it? Content and satisfied in this moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that what you're saying about being in this moment instead of always looking for something at some point in the future or in somewhere else. And a lot of times, and you talked about parenting, a lot of times, I feel people compare themselves in relationships. Yeah, I'm not the type of person who watches a lot of TV shows or drama on TV. One, because I've never not many shows have made me feel like really good in where I am. Instead, it makes me feel like, wow, I could have done better. But when we're thinking about relationships, and I want to just go a little bit into being step parents, comparing to first time parents or nuclear parents. There's a lot of comparison being done there in the fact that, again, if we're going to TV commercials, it's changing a little bit, but in the past, in the last 5 years ago and before, the model of being a quote unquote perfect family, as you talked about, which doesn't exist, or the model family was one husband, one wife, and two kids with a dog in a nice house. I mean, oftentimes that's what you saw as a model for a home. And before, there were shows like the Brady Bunch and the Partridge Family showing, a single mom or remarried couples. But again, that wasn't realistic. And I think a lot of times when we look and try to compare, you have to ask yourself, is this realistic for who I am in this situation? I see a lot of women going on forums and asking people, advice, and asking them, well, what would you do if you were me? The thing is, no one else is you. You can ask for advice, you can ask for suggestions, but the reality is no one is in your shoes. And although we may try to be in your shoes and empathize, the best way for you to move forward and to get the right answers is to ask yourself those questions. What would I do if I was me? What would I do if this was a different situation? What do I have control over and I can actually do? What is it that I really want in my life? How much time and energy do I want to put into this thing I want? And will it actually make me happy if I got it? And I think that's one of the questions that's really important. Like we see other people, with big houses, fancy cars, the big job, the fabulous body. But the thing is, if you actually got it, would you be happier than you are now?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because if we really ask ourselves what matters to me most at this time in my life, what is it that I really not just need but want in my life that will be helpful to me? And a lot of times, or there are times when women, either stepmoms or midlife women, we have a tendency of worrying about other people first and asking them what they need, what they want. And instead, we need to get a little bit, and I'm going to use this word and it's going to be controversial, a little bit selfish. We
Wow.
need to say, we need to take care of me first, because even if you're a parent or a step parent or you're in a new relationship, or what how am I taking care of me? What is my self-care? And yet we look all at these shiny things out there. Or this will help you with, if you lose this weight, that will help. But that's not really self-care. Self-care is saying, what do I need in this moment that's going to support me and help me now so that I can contribute into the family, into my relationships, into my work? Being on burnout, there's this model out there, especially for being a parent or being a woman, is to be a super woman, that somehow we have to do everything. Well, you can't do everything at the same time. You got to break it down to doable steps. And we talked about, delegating. Well, it's the same thing, is comparing yourself to others in a toxic way is the greatest way to bring down your self-esteem. And that is not self-care. Self-care is saying, okay, this is what I need. This is what I want. How do I get it? How much energy do I have to put out? And can I ask for help?
Yeah.
Can I ask for help? Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I love the points you just made. You know, again, I think that a lot of times we forget that being selfish is not a bad thing. Again, we're talking about, things that are good or bad. How about just being what we need at the moment rather than seeing as good or bad, worse or better, but something that is what I need at this moment. And there's a difference again in being selfish for taking care of yourself and being selfish just because you don't care the heck what happens to others and you're just going to do it for yourself. There's a big spectrum of differences. It's not everything is black and white. And I think we have to go away from thinking that everything is either or, but a mixture of both. And yeah, a lot of times I think we neglect taking care of ourselves, because if we do, we'll be seen by whoever. And I think that's another thing I think that's important to mention, is that a lot of times we have in our head this imagination that everybody's watching us and judging us and telling us like, oh my God, are you bad? And I think the reality, if we took the time to look into people's heads, they probably think a lot less about what we're doing than we think other people are doing.
You know, you're okay. So that just reminds me of a funny story, and I use this a lot to when I use this story a lot when I work with clients about comparing and judging and stuff. So a few years back, I needed to get some really good shoes, and I decided to get those brand called Dansko, which was actually created for nurses. And I decided at that time I wanted red shoes because I was going to be facilitating long days in front of people. And leading seminars face to face, and I thought I want red shoes. So I went in, and there was one pair of red Danskos left. It was the last of its kind. They will never make them again. And I go, oh, and they're my size. Oh, joy of joy. So I started prancing around the store in my red shoes. And this is what happened. I passed a woman, don't know these people. These were just other customers in the store. Passed one woman. She goes, oh, that's going to clash with everything. Then I pass another woman and I go, oh, that's a woman who has a lot of confidence and power. And I'm thinking to myself, that's their stuff. It has nothing to do with me. It would have been anybody in red shoes walking, prancing around the store. And I got my shoes and went out, and I'm wearing them out. And this teenage boy said, cool shoes. And I said, there you go. Everything just works out. So it's the same thing. We spend a lot of time worrying about being judged and being compared to other people, but they're thinking about you judging them and comparing them. So everybody is not focusing on you at this moment right now. It's really the conversation in your head and your belief system at that moment. So, so again, you need to just ask yourself, or not, it's your choice, doing this at this time, comparing myself at this time, is this really supporting me or not? And I think, again, I agree with you, this black and white, this either or, it's it's a tapestry, it's colors of the rainbow, it's red, it's mishmash, it's not one or the other. It's what's working for me. It's, I always, when clients ask me, am I a good person or am I a good parent? I go, well, what's your definition of good?
Yes.
What is good? What is bad? What's your definition? Are you causing harm? Are you physically hurting? One day I was going through one of those klutzy day, and I thought I was just screwing up no matter what I was doing, and I thought, oh, I'm that conversation, oh, I'm a bad person. And I said, wait a minute, I didn't murder anyone today. I did not. I did not go out and hurt anybody today, so I'm okay. Sometimes you just got to bring it down to that. Today, did I? No, no, I did not.
You're a good person, and
Yay!
I think, you're right. I think this is where comparison hurts us more than anything, is when we're comparing ourselves, like, am I good or bad? Better or worse. Those are some of the things that shouldn't be with comparison. Actually, it's more judging than comparing. When you put in, like, am I better or worse than someone else or something else, then that becomes a judgment rather than comparing. When no, I wrote an article a while back on comparison, and one of the things, and it helped me to make me think about comparison, is that we think about, we do it all the time when we're going shopping for food, going to schools, buying a house. If we didn't compare, how would you know what you liked and who you are? And so, let's just be careful about comparing, and see it as a way of being inspired. I like to look at other people's work. I like to look at how other people live their life. And I see it as, how can I be inspired by what they're doing, rather than feeling like I'm comparing myself to them. So if we just switch that around and say, am I inspired by what this person is doing? Is there something I can learn or improve in my life from what I'm seeing others out there? Then I think we have a different perspective and a different view of what's going on out there, and we feel a lot more confident about who we are.
Yeah, I agree. I like that. I really like that idea of inspire. I look at other people who are doing what I do, and I always say, what they said or what they did, that inspires me, and then I can take that inspiration and then weave it into helping my clients. And that happens, other people are inspired by me and it weaves into their conversations. So I like that. I appreciate that. Is this inspiring me, or is this just making me, you know? So,
I mean,
inspiration. And the other thing I like to sometimes use comparing for that supports me is motivation. Is when I see someone doing something or being in a state of being that I admire, it motivates me to experiment on how to get there for myself and how it's going to show up in my style and my flavor. And you know, it's like dance. You know what? Here's the thing. I believe I love dancing. Been dancing since I think I was dancing in the womb. But here's the thing. I'm always moving. But here's the thing that I believe everyone can dance. We all cannot look like professional dancers. We all have our own rhythm. We all have our own style and our own flavor. So if you have a whole bunch of people on the dance floor and we're all doing the tango, it's going to look different. If you are all doing the salsa, it's all going to look different. It doesn't make it bad or good. However, when I see someone doing a move that I go, wow, I want to try that, I start experimenting, see if I can find it. And then I realize, my midlife body can't do that, but I can modify it so that it works for my body, my joint, who I am at this time in my life. So I think that just came to me. Life is a dance, and you're going to find people who say, no, that's not my style. Don't want to do that. Oh, this is. I think I'd like to experiment to see if I can create it for me.
I love that. I love the analogy of dancing, because, that's true. We all dance to our own rhythm, and that's what makes this such a beautiful world of diversity and uniqueness is if we were all the same, it would be pretty boring and we would not be progressing, because if everybody did the same thing, we wouldn't be learning from one another. We wouldn't be trying these different moves and saying like, wow, I didn't realize I could do this, or there's no way I can do this. And this is the same whether we're dancing. I can't sing. I love people who sing. It's like one of my things that I'm thinking, like, if I could have had a gift, I would have wanted to have a gift of singing. But I have other gifts, which is drawing, art, creativity. And so that's my gift. But I still enjoy watching other people creating these wonderful songs and music. And it's the same whatever you're doing in life. Like if you're admiring someone who has a lot of patience raising kids. Like I've seen people who have no patience with children. But they do other things with them, and they're dedicated, they bring them all over the place, they do other things. Other people can sit on the floor and just like talk to them and play with them hours on end. So I think it's important to look at what your strengths are, who you are as a person. Look at your gifts you have. Like I said, I don't have the gift of singing, but I do have the gift of creativity, of art, of drawing, and that's who I am. And so embrace who you are as a person. Take the time to write down, what are your gifts? Who are you? And then compare yourself to yourself. Like 5 years ago, I would have never been living in a place. I'm in the city now, which is something I would have never done before. Now I'm comparing myself to 5 years ago, and I'm thinking, wow, have I grown? Have I changed? Things about me are changing constantly. So I'm comparing myself to who I was. Now, there are other things that I compare myself to, and I wish, like, maybe I should exercise a little bit more because, I'm not as fit as I once was. So those are good things. And those are things that I can control. And it's me. I'm not putting anybody else into my comparison thing, but I'm looking at how I can improve myself, looking at what I have currently, and then embrace those things that I currently have.
I agree. I agree. There's a point where going back to your strengths, sometimes we don't realize we have a lot of gifts. By the way, I love singing. My singing ability is because two things. I never can remember lyrics, and I only can remember parts of the song. But and my voice just has its own way of finding notes I don't even think exist. But that's okay. Um, and I tried singing lessons, and I realized when I sing, it became very hysterically funny. So I made it a comedy act for a while. But that's how I sing. But I too have different gifts, and we all have gifts. And you know what? A lot of times we'd forget what we have that we can contribute to other people's success, our own success. So here's the thing that sometimes helps if you're not sure what your gifts are or strengths or whatever you want to call them, is think of things that you do innately well that comes very easy to you, that you started when you were a kid. You never went to school for, and you just did it, and you love doing it. When you do it, you don't realize time is going by. You just love doing it. Matter of fact, you can't believe when you get paid when you do this, because it's just so much. It's just who I am. So I remember working with this woman, and she was going through a career change, and she said, "No, I have no, that whole I have no skills. I'm in my 40s." She was close to 50. I have no skill. And I go, well, what did you do when something you never went to school for, you just did? She figured out how to, at the age of 5, get on the phone and call her mother's friends to come over for coffee. Her mother didn't show her how. She just figured out. And that's when she said, I go, okay, so that's almost like a party planner or, anyway, that's what she ended up doing. She went toward becoming, she loves it. She loves being an event planner. So things that you do innately well, and here's the other thing with strengths. You cannot not do this. Whatever it is, you cannot not do it. It's something that you have to do no matter what. So those are just some thoughts, write it down and put it somewhere where when you're having one of those days going, nothing's going right, who am I? Or, it's a klutzy day, put it somewhere to remind yourself, you know what? This is what I have. This is who I am. This is what I want to keep going. And then from there, you can dovetail into, well, I can do this. I wonder if this is similar. Let me experiment with that.
I love that, Sharona. And so I think with that, I think we'll have our listeners, join us if they want to explore their gifts. If they want to know more about ways of avoiding comparison from others in a negative way, but look at themselves and gain confidence and have more, feel of who they are, that build their strengths and appreciate who they are. Both Sharona and I would love to talk with you. I would love if you're a stepmom and if you're struggling and trying to figure out, where do I fit in here? How do I merge myself into this new family without comparing myself to the ex-wife or to other women who are moms and are dealing with different things? I'd love to talk with you about how we can support you to make your life better and to feel more confident and appreciate the gifts you already have. So if you're a stepmom and you're interested in talking with me, I'd love to talk with you. Just send me an email at claudette@stepmomcoach.com or just visit my website at stepmomcoach.com. There's a lot of great free resources for you to check out. So what about you, Sharona? So what would people come to see you for?
So here, if you're, and if you're a midlife woman and you're just struggling with this change, and you're asking those questions, who am I? What do I want? Where do I want to go from here? And you want to, get out of that cycle of comparing and struggling. I would really love to talk with you and have a conversation about that. And, or you just need to figure out what your next step is, even just your next step, that you're feeling maybe stuck or lost a little bit, and you just need a faithful sidekick and a guide to help you on the journey of your life so that you're thriving, not just surviving, but you're thriving wholeheartedly in body, mind, and spirit. And that as you move forward in your life, you have a sense of freedom, joy, and confidence. So you can reach me at Sharona at dancingwithchange2, the number 2, thrive.com, or at my website, www.dancingforchange2thrive.com. And I, leave, email me, talk to us. We're here, and we love to help people. We love to help stepmoms. We love to help midlife women. Yay.
And again, I just want to share that, we started this, Sharona and I, because we have a passion. We both have that passion, a gift of being able to help other women to see things that they hadn't seen before, to think outside the box, to be creative, to thrive instead of just surviving. And, I think that's important. It's okay to survive. And I know a lot of people talk about surviving, but we're beyond surviving. We want you to be thriving in your life. Sharona and I are here to help you. We'd love to hear what your comments. And if you have comments, leave them on the box below in our YouTube channel, and we'll respond to your comments.
Yes, we will. And sometimes the comment is before we say goodbye is what box? If you're in a box and you color it all pretty, you're still in a box. Be outside the box or go to that place of what box. So there you go. What box? Or make it a hat.
I agree, Sharona. You make me laugh every time we're together. So this is awesome. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. So again, be sure to follow us. Look at our YouTube channel. You can go to Claudette Chinavera, the Stepmom Coach, or you can go to Sharona, Dancing with Change to Thrive. Right?
Right. Yes.
Excellent.
And I have a couple things on midlife women dancing with change. So you can find that on all the social media. And let's groove on, have fun, and thrive. Bye, everybody.
Right. Bye. Take care. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.